Hello again, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Brown's Latest. I'm Dave Grendzynski, but you can call me Grizzer. That's what everybody else said, especially in high school when they couldn't pronounce our last name. And this is where we get you caught up on some of the latest news involving our favorite team in the NFL. That is, of course, the Cleveland Browns. And then we give you our takes and our opinions along the way. And I say ours because it's not just me, it's you. From the viewer comments. Thank you to everybody who has liked our previous episodes. I'm thinking this one makes the list. Also, everybody who has subscribed to the channel. We are like this close to 10,000 subscribers. And when we get there, we will give the orange quarter zip a rest. I wear it by demand every single day, but I always change it up when we cross a threshold. So when we get to 10,000, we will have a different fit for you for one show. Also, to everybody who has become a member of the Browns Latest Dog Pound, I thank you very much. And as I mentioned off the top, thank you to everybody who gets your comments down there in the viewer comment section. Now, coming up on today's show, it's a rough week for Kevin Stefanski, and it got even rougher after Joe Flacco balled out on Thursday Night Football. Regardless of the outcome, Sunday's game at Huntington Bank Field in downtown Cleveland will be historic. The prediction pen is here. And not only will it let us know if we're going to squish the fish, but it will also tell us if we'll have a new coach come Monday. Now, what we always do is we always give it a warm-up question, and the warm-up question is the same every week. Oh, prediction pen, will this be a good show? If you're lucky, okay, we'll take that. Better than dude, no way. All right, and then down in the viewer comments, what Shedeur Sanders is doing outside of practice? What? Is he moonlighting on us? I don't know. We got to find out. But first things first, some quick headlines. Chad O'Shea, the wide receivers coach, he's also the pass game coordinator. And so I don't know what he's coordinating, but there's not much to coordinate with our pass game because it's awful. But the Chad O'Shea was asked about the 13 drops that we have, second most in the NFL. And he said, well, we are just going to focus on the fundamentals. That's what we're focusing on. We go back and we focus on emphasize the fundamentals and make sure that we prioritize the fundamentals in our individual drills at practice. So the fundamentals will help us. I thought he was going to say we got him stickier gloves. That to me would have been a way better answer. Conklin back at practice, but when Stefanski was asked, is he going to play? Of course, we got he's progressing. Njoku not playing, though. Whiteheart will be in there. So Njoku is out. Graham also hurt, so his availability is sketchy. And Mike Hall, though, back at practice, running around, looking great. Everybody's thinking, oh, well, he'll just take Graham's spot. Ask Stefanski, so is that what's going to happen? Graham's out and Hall's in. He's like, well, Hall's progressing. Okay. Hey, we're wearing the brown uniforms and the brown helmets. We're back to that. The Alpha Dogs. And remember, we are undefeated in the brown uniforms. We wore them against Green Bay. It's the only time we won them, and we won. So we are undefeated in the brown uniforms, right? So there you go. Now, amongst all the questions Kevin was being asked, there's only one that anybody cared about. And that was, did you see Joe Flacco ball out Thursday night? And of course, when they asked Kevin Stefanski, did you see Joe Flacco ball out on Thursday night? Kevin said, oh, I was sleeping. I sleep during Thursday night football. I'm focused on the Dolphins. I'm focused on Miami. In fact, I was dreaming about the Dolphins. They were jumping over me. Shamu came by, splashed water on me. It was a great dream. I was sleeping during Thursday night football about the Dolphins because I'm focused on the Dolphins. That's all we're focused on. He's such a liar. He knows. Everybody knows. Everybody saw it. The fact that he left this offense and became a quarterback again. Everybody saw it. Everybody knows it. And this was the icing on the cake of a seriously rough week for Kevin Stefanski. And if you remember, it started back on Sunday when we lost to the Steelers and the offense looked putrid once again. And his hand-picked quarterback was throwing it to the other team as much as he was trying to throw it to ours. And we threw it 59 times. And, oh, my God, the whole thing was a disaster. Then the pressure begins to mount. Now everybody's like, this offense is a disaster. Stefanski's got to go. You know, I mean, we've been saying it for a month. We were out in front. But the pressure starts to mount. Then Mike Tomlin calls him out. and says, hey, what's up with Andrew Berry? I guess he's smarter than me. Why would you trade a quarterback that you thought was a starter, was your starter? You trade him to a division rival who needs a quarterback. Why would you do such a thing? And remember, we've never had a trade between the Browns and the Bengals until that day. And it's the first time since 1974 you had a trade like that within the division. So that's why Tomlin is like, what are you doing over there? Then Myles Garrett. The Myles Garrett dam is starting to break. He's starting to make his opinions felt a little. He sort of popped off after the Pittsburgh game. When he said, when I asked him about what's it like watching the Pittsburgh defense get to rush the quarterback with a lead, and he's like, must be nice. So he starts to break down, and then Thursday night, Joe Flacco goes out there and tears up the Steelers, a team we just were schooled by a few days ago. And so it's just a horrible look for Stefanski, a horrible look for Andrew Berry, the whole thing. And now everybody, I mean, did you hear the Cincinnati people? Thank you, Cleveland. I mean, this is why every year, like, they turn us into the laughing stock of the league every single year, this regime. And it's got to stop. It has got to end, man. This Stefanski thing has got to end. He has hitched his wagon to a 5'11" left-handed quarterback. So, and got rid of Joe Flacco. And you could it was textbook use of Joe Flacco. It's exactly what I've been saying for over a month, how to use Joe Flacco. 3-step drops, get the ball out. That's all he was. Boom, Chase. Boom, boom. And the thing is, they were trying to take Chase away. So what's he doing? Higgins, Fant, just spreading all over the yard. Just throwing it where they ain't. It's like baseball. Hit it where they ain't. Well, Flacco was throwing it where they ain't. And even though they were still trying to take Chase out of there, he hit him for like 15 passes. They couldn't stop him. That was our quarterback. It's going to be another one. I told you when we traded him, he will lead them to the playoffs and be comeback player of the year. So none of this surprises me. As soon as you get out under that Stefanski thumb of horrible offense, look what happens. Your career is remade. Now, regardless of what happens tomorrow, you will be watching history down there at the old Huntington Bank Stadium, Huntington Bank Field, whatever we call it. In downtown Cleveland. That's because this is the first time since 1950 you'll see two left-handed quarterbacks go at it. Yeah, that's how many lefty quarterbacks there are running around in the NFL. Oy vey. So this is only the 24th time since 1950 that this is that you had two left-handed quarterbacks going against each other. The last time, 2006, Michael Vick and Chris Sims, Atlanta beat Tampa Bay that day. Michael Vick led them to victory 20 years ago against Chris Sims. And what's ironic is tomorrow's game will be the first lefty-on-lefty matchup not to involve Sims since he retired. The last 5 lefty-on-lefty games all included Chris Sims. And then the last time Miami had a lefty face a lefty was 1993. That's when Boomer Esiason, where he was with the Jets, he beat Scott Mitchell and the Dolphins 27-10. And now we, the Browns, haven't had a lefty-on-lefty matchup since week 8 of the 1984 season. It was Paul McDonald for the Browns playing against Boomer Esiason, who was still with the Bengals way back when. Man, oh man, that was 42 years ago. But Esiason and the Bengals beat McDonald and the Browns 12-9. And so with that, I ask you, what are we doing? What are we doing? Because let me throw this in. Yes, it'll be historic. You have a lefty and lefty, but also we have an undersized left-handed quarterback. Only 2 left-handed quarterbacks in the NFL history have won the Super Bowl. Ken Stabler in 1977 and Steve Young in 1995, and both of those guys were over 6 feet tall. So we somehow think a left-handed 5'11" quarterback will win us the Super Bowl. There were more starts by lefty quarterbacks in the 90s, 373, than the entire 21st century combined. Only 353 starts by lefties in the last 25 years. They just don't, as the league is going on, coaches and GMs are like, no lefties for us. The thing is, though, you won't have to wait long for the second lefty and the next lefty on lefty battle because it's going to be next week because the Dolphins play Atlanta. So it'll be Tua against Penix. And so you'll have that. You'll back-to-back left. So even more history being made. But with this one, not only do you have Tua and Tua 2.0, you have little Tua against Tua 1. They're both from Hawaii. You have the Hawaii thing, too, going on. So a lot of history going to be made on the field tomorrow. I know what history is not going to be made is here's your first prediction. Before we get to the prediction pen, I predict we will never win a Super Bowl with Dillon Gabriel at quarterback. So I predict I will also predict that he will be a career backup in this league. And we used a 3rd-round pick on him. So, but then again, we also have the GM who decided to trade Joe Flacco to the Bengals, and then we get to watch him ball out for the last couple of games. So there we go. That's what we're dealing with. Now, speaking of predictions, the prediction pen is here. And we will start. Like we do every Saturday, we bring out the prediction pen because we need to know what's going to happen before it happens. And the first question, now tomorrow it's going to be raining, it's going to be windy, right? So what does that tell you? You should run the ball, right? But we have Kevin Stefanski calling our plays, so you never know what's going to happen. I mean, we tried to throw it 57,000 times against the Steelers last week, so who knows what can happen? So we have to ask. Prediction pen, we must know. Will Quinshon Judkins rush for more than 100 yards against the Dolphins? If you're lucky. Okay. Again, better than no way, dude. All right. We mentioned it off the top, the drop balls. Judy's got one in every single game. So we got to ask, will Jerry Jeudy keep his streak of dropped balls alive? Without a doubt. All right. Well, remember last week said that he wasn't going to drop a ball, and then he still did. So this week saying, without a doubt, he will drop a ball. So, and then what they'll do is they'll just blame the rain, is what they'll do. Blame it on the rain is what they'll do. Because Jeudy can't catch, and neither can anybody. I was going to say neither can Njoku, but he's not playing, so couldn't do that. All right. Next question. Will we? Here we go. This is a good question. Even though it's going to be a hurricane, you have to, because Stefanski still will throw the ball 50 times in a hurricane. We have to know, will we throw the ball more than 30 times against Miami on Sunday? Oh, boy. Not good. The pen fell apart. Hold on. Slipped out of my hand and fell apart. Here we go. Dude, no way. All right. We're not throwing it 30 times. That's great. That's good to know. All right. Thank you, prediction pen. All right. Now, next question. Will Shedeur Sanders get any playing time? It's unclear. Ask again. Will Shedeur Sanders get any playing time against Miami? Not for $1 million. All right. Well, it seems... All right. Well, you probably don't even want him to play in those conditions and with Stefanski calling the plays. You probably don't want that anyway. All right, here we go. This is a big question. Now, so we're down to our last 2 questions. And this one might tell us what's going to happen in the last one. Because this one is, will Kevin Stefanski be fired after the game on Sunday? Dude, no way. That can only mean one thing. Are you ready to find out? Will the Browns beat the Miami Dolphins Sunday afternoon at Huntington Bank Field in downtown Cleveland? If you're lucky. Okay, well, there we go. If you're lucky. Riding the fence is the prediction pen. Actually, I think that's kind of smart. So there you go. But unfortunately, prediction pen says Stefanski will not be fired. So we will not have a new coach come Monday, unfortunately. But we'll see. Prediction pen's been wrong in the past. And this is a game, like, if we can't win this game, again, this defense is the worst defense we've seen all year. They can't stop the pass. They can't stop the run. They can't do anything. If we can't beat Miami, it's going to be brutal. And like I said before, if we can't score over 20 points on this team, I don't care what the weather conditions are, it better be an ugly scene after that game tomorrow. Now, one thing that is always a right guess, unlike the prediction pen, are the viewer comments. And we'll start with Darian Hodge, who says, that game Thursday night is everything we need to know about Stefanski. He needs to be fired immediately. 100%. I mean, it's plain as day. Everybody knows. Everybody sees it. And for him to say I slept through it, come on, man. You got to be better than that. Supernatural Inc. says, with the Joe Flacco air raid in Pittsburgh, Barry and Stefanski, hands down, have officially sealed their fates with the Browns. The Haslams have to be at their wits' ends. Here's the thing. I think the Haslams are in on all this. I think that here's what I think. One of two things. Either A, Haslam's like, don't worry about winning because we don't care until we get to the new stadium. Let's just keep losing and get a bunch of draft picks and then set us up to win when we get to the stadium in 2029 in Brook Park. Or he told them, he's like, listen, I screwed up the Deshaun thing is on me. I screwed you guys the last 3-4 years. So here's what we're going to muddle through this. We'll get out of this. We'll get out from under this contract, and then we'll start caring. And then we'll start doing things that are, decisions that are good for the team, like playing Shador maybe. So that's to me the only thing. I don't think they're at their wits' end, man. That's the problem. And Haslam's not going anywhere. With this new stadium coming, that is his baby. He's been working on that thing for years. He's not going anywhere. Your only hope is Stefanski and Barry to be gone. Haslam, not going anywhere. Steve Miller, 96.75. Joe looked 15 years younger, smiling, laughing, and he ran like the wind. Blows in 10 days away. That's all. Yeah. What if Joe takes the Bengals to the playoffs and Baker wins the MVP in the Super Bowl? The irony would be amusing. Yeah, I already told you. I think Joe Flacco, I'm telling you, I told you that's what does that. Only in Cleveland does that happen. Our starting quarterback ends up on Cincinnati and then takes them to the playoffs instead of us because they have better coaching. Rigo Thompson 1328 says, how about Flacco's performance against the Bengals? Thank you, Cleveland. Where the chants from the crowd was the worst loss for the Browns this season, and they didn't even play. Stefanski, Barry, DePodesta all have to go. This team is completely dysfunctional. To come full circle, Pickett will beat the Browns in Las Vegas. Peace. How about that? Wouldn't that just be the coup de grace, right? They would have to face Pickett when they play the Raiders, and then he takes them out too. Oh my gosh, that would just be the greatest. And by the greatest, I mean the worst. And then we'll end with Wandering Traveler, who says, I don't want Sanders to play tomorrow. I want the Dolphins to beat the Browns. Stefanski gets fired, and then Sanders plays. Now, here's the thing. Have you seen this? Shador out getting in some extra work at Baldwin-Wallace. That's the college right down the street from the train where the Browns train. And so Baldwin-Wallace University, the Yellow Jackets. And so he's gone. This is the second time I've seen this. He goes over there. One time he was, throwing passes to the team. This time he's out there on his own, doing his own thing, kind of like what he was doing in Florida. Just staying ready. I'm all for it, man. Might as well. I mean, if they're not going to give you the chance, you might as well keep yourself ready to go. All right, now, speaking of ready to go, we are ready to go for the Brownies. Will we be barking after the game and playing the song? And how many times will we hear this? Oh boy, sounded rough. Look, I even got the Browns backers wristband out for this one. This is a must win. This is an easy win. We got to get this locked down. All right, folks, that's going to do it for today's show. We'll be back in the morning, and then we'll record a reaction one for you after the game. Double up tomorrow before and after the game. Go Browns! We'll see you next time.